Hello, everyone. Today's chess puzzle. Let's visualize this board, okay?
Yeah.
So for white, we have a bishop on f4, a queen on c3,
Okay.
rook on d3, another bishop on f3, pawn on g3, pawn on c2, pawn on f2, pawn on h2, and the king on g1.
Got it.
Now for black, we have a bishop on f8, kings on g8,
Okay.
pawn on f7, pawn on h7, queen on b6, rook on d6, bishop on e6, pawn on g6, pawn on b5, and a pawn on a4.
Right.
It is white's turn. Let's get this going.
All right. So, looking at this, the immediate pressure seems to be around the center.
Yeah.
And black's king side.
Okay.
White's queen, has a decent reach from c3, and the rook on d3 could become active.
Mm-hmm.
Black's queen on b6 is eyeing the c3 square, so white needs to be mindful of that.
Right. So the first move is queen from c3 to f6.
Cook.
What's the thinking there? It immediately puts pressure on that f7 pawn, which is only defended by the king.
Exactly. It's forcing black to react and also potentially opening up lines along that feather file. What's fascinating here is how it restricts black's king's movement and creates a potential threat.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Black responds by moving their bishop from f8 to g7.
Okay.
That seems like the most logical defense, guarding the f7 pawn and getting the bishop out of potential trouble.
Precisely. Now, white needs to decide how to follow up. The rook on d3 hasn't moved yet, and the bishop on f4 has a limited scope.
Right.
This raises an important question. How can white best utilize their pieces to further the attack?
And this is where it gets interesting.
Okay.
White plays rook from d3 to d6.
Wow.
That's a bold move. It sacrifices the rook, but it attacks black's rook on the same file and also puts immense pressure on black's 7th rank.
It's a tactical shot. Black is almost forced to take the rook to avoid losing material.
Right.
And they do, with their queen moving from b6 to d6, capturing white's rook.
So a queen for a rook, but the attack isn't over. White's queen on f6 now moves to g7.
And that's check. The black king is under direct attack.
A crucial continuation. Utilizing the pin on the f7 pawn, black's king on g8 has to move. The only safe square is g7.
King to g7 it is. Now look at white's bishop on f4.
Yeah.
It moves to d6. What's happening there?
By moving the queen to g7, white cleared the f4 d6 diagonal. The bishop now delivers a discovered attack on the black king, which is already on g7.
Right.
This creates a complex situation where black's king is under attack by both the queen and the bishop.
So the sequence of moves is white queen from c3 to f6, black bishop from f8 to g7, white rook from d3 to d6, black queen from b6 to d6, white queen from f6 to g7, black king from g8 to g7, white bishop from f4 to d6. There you go. White's queen moves from c3 to f6, black's bishop moves from f8 to g7, white's rook moves from d3 to d6, black's queen moves from b6 to d7, black's king moves from g8 to g7, white's bishop moves from f4 to d6. While it's not a checkmate, what has white achieved? What's significant here is the material advantage white has gained.
Okay.
They've traded a rook and a bishop for black's queen.
Right.
In most scenarios, the queen is more valuable than a rook and a bishop combined. This material superiority gives white a strong advantage heading into the later stages of the game.
Fascinating to see how a tactical sequence can lead to a clear material gain.
This highlights how seemingly sacrificial moves can lead to a net positive outcome when you calculate several steps ahead.
Thank you for listening.